Welcome to our channel, Crime Loom, the place where true crime stories come alive. Ted Bundy was one of the most infamous serial killers in American history. His name became known across the country during the 1970s, not only for the number of people he killed, but also for the way he seemed so normal. He looked polite, handsome, and educated. He did not look like someone who could do such terrible things. But behind his calm smile was a man capable of great cruelty and deception. Ted Bundy was born on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont. His early life was filled with confusion and secrets. He was raised by his grandparents for part of his childhood and was told that his mother was his sister. He later found out the truth, and it deeply affected him. He did not know who his father was, and that mystery stayed with him. Bundy's childhood seemed normal on the outside, but those close to him later said he was strange and distant. Some said he enjoyed watching people get hurt and that he showed no emotion when others were in pain. When Bundy grew older, he moved with his mother to Washington State. He was intelligent and charming, and people liked him. In school, he was quiet but smart. He went to the University of Washington, where he studied psychology. He seemed like a normal young man with a bright future. He was known to be polite, and women often found him attractive. During this time, he began a relationship with a woman named Stephanie Brooks, who came from a wealthy family. She was elegant and confident, and Bundy admired her deeply. But when she ended the relationship, saying he was immature and lacked direction, it devastated him. Many people believed that this breakup was a turning point in his life. He later targeted women who looked like her, women with long dark hair parted in the middle. Bundy worked different jobs after college and even volunteered with a political campaign. He was clever and used his charm to make people trust him. He also worked at a suicide hotline for a short time, where he seemed kind and helpful. But at the same time, his dark side was growing stronger. In the early 1970s, women began disappearing in the Pacific Northwest. The disappearances confused police because there were no witnesses or clear patterns. But slowly, investigators noticed that many of the missing women looked similar. They were young, attractive, and had long brown hair. Many were last seen speaking to a polite young man who called himself Ted. Bundy had developed a method to catch his victims. He would pretend to be injured, wearing a sling or using crutches. He would ask women for help carrying something to his car. Once they were close enough, he would attack them, hitting them with a metal bar or forcing them into his vehicle. He drove a Volkswagen Beetle, a small car that became infamous because of him. He often took his victims to remote areas where no one could hear them. There, he assaulted and killed them. Sometimes he returned to the bodies later, showing a disturbing fascination with death. The police in Washington and Oregon worked hard to solve the case, but Bundy was careful. He used his intelligence to avoid being caught. He changed his appearance often, grew facial hair, and even changed the way he walked or spoke. People who knew him had no idea what he was doing. In 1974, his crimes became more violent. 2 women disappeared on the same day from Lake Sammamish State Park near Seattle. There were many witnesses this time. Several people said they had seen a man with his arm in a sling, asking women for help loading a sailboat onto his car. He introduced himself as Ted. When police released this information, many women who knew Bundy recognized the description. But because he seemed so normal and well-liked, some people dismissed the idea that he could be responsible. Bundy soon left Washington and moved to Utah to attend law school. There, the disappearances continued. Women began vanishing again, and the pattern was the same. The police in different states did not yet realize that they were dealing with the same man. In Utah, he was eventually stopped by a police officer while driving late at night. The officer found handcuffs, a ski mask, and a crowbar in his car. Bundy was arrested for possessing burglary tools, but investigators soon connected him to a kidnapping case. A young woman named Carol Durant had escaped from a man who had tried to handcuff her. She later identified Bundy as her attacker. Bundy was convicted of kidnapping and sent to prison in Utah. While there, detectives began to link him to several murders in other states. They had evidence connecting him to crimes in Colorado, Washington, and Oregon. As the cases grew, Bundy was transferred to Colorado to face trial for murder. But Bundy was clever and determined not to stay behind bars. In 1977, he escaped from a courthouse by jumping out of a second-story window while acting as his own lawyer. He was caught a few days later. However, 6 months later, he escaped again, this time from the Garfield County Jail in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. He lost weight so he could fit through a small hole in the ceiling of his cell and climbed into the jailer's apartment, eventually walking right out the front door. After escaping, Bundy fled to Florida. There, he changed his name and tried to start a new life, but his violent urges returned quickly. In January 1978, he broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. Inside, he brutally attacked 4 young women, killing 2 of them and injuring 2 others. Only a few weeks later, he kidnapped and murdered a 12-year-old girl named Kimberly Leach. Police across Florida were now on high alert. Bundy was eventually pulled over in Pensacola for driving a stolen car. When the officer asked for identification, Bundy gave a fake name. After a struggle, he was arrested. When police realized who he really was, news spread quickly across the country. The man who had escaped from jail twice and murdered across several states was finally back in custody. During his trial in Florida, Bundy decided to represent himself again. He enjoyed the attention and often smiled for the cameras. Many people were shocked by how calm and confident he seemed. He cross-examined witnesses, spoke smoothly in court, and sometimes even acted as if he were the victim. The courtroom was often filled with spectators, many of them young women who said they found him fascinating. His charm, even during a murder trial, disturbed many people. The evidence against Bundy was strong. Investigators found bite marks on one of the victims that matched his teeth. There were eyewitnesses, physical evidence, and a long list of women who had vanished in areas where he had been living. Despite his charm, the truth was undeniable. He was found guilty of murder and sentenced to death. While on death row, Bundy tried to delay his execution by giving information about his crimes. He confessed to more than 30 murders, though many experts believe the true number was higher. He spoke in detail about how he selected, abducted, and killed his victims. He also tried to blame his actions on addiction to violent pornography, but many psychologists and investigators believed that Bundy's crimes came from something much deeper, a complete lack of empathy and a desire for control. Bundy's behavior continued to confuse people. He could act intelligent and polite one moment and cold and manipulative the next. Psychologists described him as a psychopath, a person who can imitate normal emotions but does not actually feel them. He used his good looks and confidence to hide his cruelty. Even when he was facing death, he tried to manipulate those around him. As his execution date approached, there were protests both for and against him. Some people believed he deserved a second chance, while others said he was pure evil and had destroyed too many lives. On January 24, 1989, Ted Bundy was executed in the electric chair at Florida State Prison. Hundreds of people gathered outside the prison, some holding signs and cheering when they heard the news. They felt that justice had finally been served for the many women whose lives he had taken. Even after his death, Bundy remained the subject of deep study and discussion. His case changed the way people thought about serial killers. Before Bundy, many assumed that killers looked or acted strange, that they could be recognized easily. Bundy showed the world that a killer could look like anyone. A neighbor, a classmate, or even a friend. His ability to hide behind a mask of charm and intelligence made him one of the most dangerous types of criminals. Investigators and psychologists continued to analyze Bundy's life to understand how someone like him could exist. Some believed he was born with a dark nature. Others thought his early childhood, filled with lies and confusion, may have shaped his mind. But there was no clear answer. What was clear was that he enjoyed the power he felt over his victims. He saw them not as people, but as objects to control. Bundy's story also had an effect on law enforcement. His crimes led to new ways of investigating serial killings and improved communication between police departments in different states. In the 1970s, there were no national databases to connect cases from different places. Bundy's crimes showed the need for cooperation and information sharing between jurisdictions. Later, systems like the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit and national crime databases helped investigators connect crimes faster and catch serial offenders sooner. For the families of the victims, Bundy's execution did not erase their pain. Many had waited years for justice. Some never even found the remains of their loved ones. For them, Bundy's name would always be connected to their loss. Over the years, documentaries, movies, and books have been made about him. Some focused on his crimes, while others explored the psychology behind his actions. People are still fascinated by how someone so outwardly normal could be capable of such horror. Bundy used his charm as a weapon, tricking people into trusting him. He blended into society, working in politics, attending law school, and pretending to be helpful. His story became a warning that evil does not always look frightening. Sometimes it wears a friendly face. Today, Ted Bundy is remembered not just as a killer, but as a symbol of deception and manipulation. His case remains one of the most studied in criminal history. He forced the world to confront the uncomfortable truth that monsters can look ordinary. His crimes left deep scars on many lives, and his legacy serves as a reminder to be cautious and aware. Even decades after his death, Bundy's name still brings fear and curiosity. People continue to ask how he was able to do what he did for so long without being caught. The answer lies partly in his intelligence and partly in people's willingness to trust appearances. He was proof that evil can hide behind a smile. Ted Bundy's life began like any other, but it ended as one of the darkest stories in modern history. From a confused boy to a manipulative killer, his journey showed how far a person can fall when driven by control, anger, and lack of empathy. His crimes destroyed many families and changed how society understands violence, trust, and human nature. In the end, Bundy's charm could not save him from justice. His story remains a chilling reminder that evil can look ordinary, and that appearances can be the most dangerous disguise of all. Subscribe to Crime Loom.